Hey everybody. I just wanted to take a moment today to talk about spikes a little bit and some things that have worked for me. I did a previous video on this, and I'm going to go in a little more detail this time. If you want to just make sure that you like and subscribe down at the bottom, and then leave any comments or questions. Now, the biggest thing that I really want to point out in a spike is it is occurring for one of two reasons. Okay, so the first one is because you are sensitized. Okay, so sensitization basically essentially means that your body, through conditioning and years of anxiety, is just used to these feelings, and it's kind of just happening, right? And it needs to happen, honestly, because if it doesn't, your body's not going to have the opportunity to heal. So those feelings, those emotions, those uncomfortable things are all things that you need to feel, because that's how your body naturally heals itself. Okay, and that's from Claire Weeks. Claire Weeks is going to talk about that in her book. And then At Last to Life with Paul David. Those two are going to be the best ones to really talk about that. Now the next reason it's happening is because the fear still exists. Okay, so if the fear still exists, the difference is in knowing, right? So essentially, when this is happening, normally sensitization will happen for a period of time, and then it goes away. Okay. Now, with sensitization, you have to understand is you have no idea how long it is. Okay, but when you can tell if it's sensitization or not is after a period of time. Usually there's no mental compulsion, such as like rumination, internal thermometer, constantly rating how you feel, how other people feel, ROCD, worrying if other people care about you or you caring about them, right? If those mental compulsions are occurring, that usually means the fear needs to be worked on. Now, you can't really know the difference, right? A lot of the times. So what you have to do is, you when that stuff really starts heating up and going, and you're uncomfortable, you need to be uncomfortable for a long time. In some cases, for me, I had periods where I had the same thing come up 2, 3, 4, 5 times, where I would have a spike that lasted 2 to 5 days, maybe even 2 weeks. That wasn't a very big spike, but it was definitely a spike. And where over time I was like, okay, I'm not sensitized. This is something that I should work on, right? So I would take time and I would say, okay, I'm not going to be compulsive about this. I'm not going to do it in the moment or anything like that, because that's not what you should do. Do not be compulsive about it. What you want to do is you want to set aside time, 10 to 20 minutes a day for a period of time. For me, when I realized, this is something that needed to happen, I was like, okay, I'm going to do it a few times a week for a month, and then that's it. 2, 3, 4 times a week for a month. I'm not gonna, be compulsive about it, even if the spike is gone and I'm not uncomfortable, right? A lot of times I think that we wait to feel uncomfortable. We wait for these spikes and these things to happen to work on ourselves, right? What's important to understand is when we're not feeling that way, we need to utilize that time to work on ourselves still. If you're not feeling that way, and you set aside that time, set it aside, work on yourself, and I think that's really important. Now, then one thing to really pay attention to, if a lot of people are having issues with breaking down fears, okay, and for me, mine is fear of fear. That's my biggest one that, sometimes will still come up, and it'll try to wrap itself around in a new way, attached to something else, right? And, when that's happening, in order to find out the fear, to really find it out, if you're having troubles, your intrusive thoughts and ruminations are usually going to point you in the right direction of what you're looking for, right? So a lot of people can think these things can be very negative, to ruminate, to have intrusive thoughts, to have these uncomfortable feelings, but they're actually they're actually the thing that you need to know. It's like your mind is giving you little hints of what you need to know, right? And that's really good. That's a very positive thing. We're very lucky to know that and understand that, right? I mean, for me, when I found that out, I was like, wow, that's that's awesome. Like, I literally, the things that are making me feel terrible or did make me feel terrible or uncomfortable are the things that are showing me what I need to work on, you know? So, for me, like I said, fear of fear, I would set aside time and say, okay, well, worst case scenario, I feel, so for me, I'll have this thing with my neck. My neck will tighten up really, really hard. Or I'll think about my saliva. It doesn't really happen too often. Maybe my breathing. Sometimes I'll feel sick, like I'm going to throw up. I'll have headaches, pressure in my eyes, random pains in my body. Sometimes I'll sweat profusely. And, when those things are, occurring, right? I'm in a situation where this is a really good opportunity for me to grow, and you know um, I I'll really look at those things and tell myself, hey, if this was to happen 24/7 and never stop, then what's the worst that could happen? Let's say I always felt this way all the time. Well, I would probably wake up and I would exercise. I would go to work, and then I would probably still hang out with all my friends, and then I would do all the things that I still loved, and I would be uncomfortable. Now, it wouldn't be what I would love to do. It wouldn't be what I would want to happen, but I would handle it. It could be challenging at times, but I would handle it. I would figure it out, right? And when you're breaking down those irrational fears over time, what happens is you're creating these conclusions for your mind to jump to, because your mind is jumping to all these conclusions now, right? So you have to create the pattern for rationality by breaking down those fears, okay? So now when you're having a spike, okay, just to recap before the end of the video, if you're having a spike, it's a good thing. Okay, it's a good thing. It needs to happen. You need to feel those feelings and emotions if you're sensitized, and it needs to go through your body so you can heal, okay? Now, if you're not sensitized, it's good that it's happening because there's still fear. There's still a thing that you need to work on. And these mental compulsions that are happening a lot of times are going to be pointing you in the right direction, where you're going to be able to find the things that you need to work on, okay? And then you set aside time to work on those things. If the spike continues for a long period of time, to know if it's actually something that needs to be worked on, or if you're sensitized, okay? After you work on those things for a period of time, whether you're uncomfortable or not, then you let it be. And then that's how you live your life, and you bring it for the ride. Bring it for the ride. And I've said this in a bunch of my videos, but it's a real thing. Once I grasped that one principle, even though I've been uncomfortable sometimes, it has made the biggest difference. And the other thing to pay attention to during a spike, and this is still something I work on, guys, is reassurance. Reassurance. I still sometimes will text Rob or Nick. They know it though, if I'm having something occur. But most of the time I've gotten so much better. Like, it's a process, right? This whole thing is a process, and you just got to realize it and understand it, and it's okay to feel these feelings and to be uncomfortable. It's a part of learning. It's a part of learning rationality, and it's a part of growing, right? And that's all we're here doing together. So anyways, that's what I got on my video on spikes. I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you.